everybody. I heard y'all was looking for me. I have not been on any of my streaming shows, but then you come over to the Moana Nui Podcast show, and here I am. It's the Mike Watson takeover, baby. Yeah, we out here today. I'm crashing everybody's podcast on the Ages of Geekdom Network. We got a very interesting show for you today. I had to get the cliff notes of it, but I'm up to speed. I am up to speed, and we're ready to go. This is going to be a fun little conversation. We got Shae Reigns, therapist in the building, coming out to join us today. I wish I had a little round of applause for me to bring her out. You know, I like them effects and stuff like that. But we're about to bring her out. So if digitally you're out there watching us, clap your hands, put it in the chat. Shae Reigns, everybody.
Hi.
What's up?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Happy to be here as always.
Excellent.
We take these hiatuses and then we get to come back, and then I get to be like here every month again. It's great.
Well, this is cool. Always a big supporter and fan of Moana and Dana. I love what they do on their podcast. They have such variety, diversity. They deal with a lot of things with culture, health, mental health, as we're going to be talking about today, the arts, so women. They do tons of things on this channel. So very honored to be here and stepping in as a substitute moderator today.
Big shoes, or not so big shoes, but definitely, the ladies, they're my homies. So
Absolutely. You want to do a proper introduction, let everybody know who you are, what it is you do, and what you're bringing to the table for us today?
Yeah, sure. I am Shae Reigns, licensed mental health clinician here in Atlanta, Georgia, and Tennessee, technically. And I am here to basically answer some of the questions that I've gotten over the years and talk about mental health, and of course encourage our community, the BIPOC geeks, nerds, and dorks community, to get more comfortable with seeking and being about that mental health care life.
Okay. And I know that's an issue. A lot of people don't want to discuss it or dive into it a lot. A lot of people think they have their own coping mechanisms for it or whatnot. But it is important, and it is something that we are, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we are seeing more in media, more in TV, more in movies, even animated features and cartoons dealing with trauma. I think cartoons are the ones that are really the forefronters of discussing this thing, especially if you look at some of the shows like Infinity Train. They deal with trauma on that show. It's really cool what they talk about and discuss in there. They have to deal with the whole trauma of actually being stuck on this train that's on an infinite loop. Each cart that you go into is something completely new. It's like multiple dimensions in one train. And there's tribes and communities within this train that some are good, some are bad, and you're trying to find your way back home. And you normally get on the train because you're running away from something, and you train. So it's a hot topic. How do you think things are being handled in our media today with it?
Oh, that's a trick question. In some cases, I'm like really impressed and happy and glad and like, yeah, good job, guys. And then in other cases, I'm like, who approved this? Nobody consulted any mental health professionals. It can be really feast or famine out there. There's some cases where I'm just like, this is horrible. This is triggering. I am concerned. But in a lot of ways, even when it's not done well, to a certain extent, I'm kind of just glad that they're doing it anyway. You know, there's some shows where they did it kind of like to death in ways that I was just like, this is too much. Like the last season of Young Justice.
Okay.
The last season of Young Justice was chock full of mental health and trauma and dealing with all of that. And on the one hand, they did a really good job of, you know, putting a realistic kind of thing on it. On the other hand, the story, the actual story got lost to how much they tried to stick in there in terms of dealing with mental health, because there are like 6 different layers of things happening all at the same time. No spoilers or anything. Just there were several layers with several different characters, and it was just a lot. And I was just like, on the one hand, yay, but on the other hand, like, you lost the story in trying to do that. So,
right.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm glad that they're doing it. I'm glad that all of the media outlets are making an effort to shine like 60 billion rays of sunshine, because it's not just shining lights on it. It's actually putting mental health in a sunshiny and bright kind of way to say, listen, whatever you're dealing with, let's talk about it, or get help to talk about it, or it's okay to be dealing with it. It's okay to not be okay. Like, there's actually a K-drama called It's Okay to Not Be Okay. Like, it's a great thing right now. And so, and I think one of the reasons why I'm so, I don't know, hype, aside from, you know, obviously I'm biased because mental health clinician. But I think especially right now with the way how things are going in the world at large, we need it. We need the messaging to be that it's okay to not be okay.
Absolutely. And I think anime and K-dramas definitely do not shy away from it. I think they use that as the bulk of their stories. There's an anime that we watch called my kids and I rather watch, called Lookism. It's fantastic. 8 episodes about a kid, a chubby fat kid gets bullied. I mean, terribly bullied. Like the first episode,
I saw it. Yeah, it's great. Not the bullying. Not the bullying. The bullying isn't great. The show is great.
But the show's incredible. Like, I wanted to jump in there and stand up for this kid, man. I feel terrible. But the way that they have him go through his trauma and how the bullying affects him, not just at school, but at home, with how he his mom and how he deals with situations in life, but also how he starts to slowly heal as he's in this new persona and taking that knowledge back to his other body. I like how they connect those dots, but dealing with I hate bullies. I absolutely hate bullies. So I love it when they get their just desserts, and I get annoyed when I actually get annoyed when they use it in shows all the time, because I'm like, there wasn't that much bullying in school. Let's come on now. Not that much. Not as much as y'all putting on TV, not the way that y'all are or whatnot. But everybody's experience is different. What is a trope with mental health in media that bothers you? Either because it wasn't handled correctly, or it's overdone, or it's not done enough, or when it is done, it's not done right. Making her dig, y'all. I'm making her dig in.
Well, see, here's the thing, because there are certain tropes that are the feel-good tropes, but sometimes they're the feel-good tropes for the wrong reasons.
Ooh, okay.
I still like them. And so it's like, it's complicated. especially
Okay.
some of the things that I like to watch. Some of the things I like to watch can be really problematic, and sorry, not sorry. But no, I think if we're talking about trauma, one of the things that they don't do awesomely, they're sort of kind of getting better at it, is the bullying trope. And it's and when I say, yeah, the bullying trope. So when there's so many different things that can go into why a bully bullies, and how a bully bullies, and the effects of bullying. There's so many different things that go into it, and so many, like, especially, I want to say, not really recently, like in the last 5 years, but between maybe the mid 90s to about the late 2000 single digits, like before 2010, before 2015, I'll give it that much. So 20 years, a lot of the trope was the bully is the bully because they're getting abused at home. The bully is the bully because they're trying to not be bullied themselves.
Right.
Where so many of the tropes, so much of the story was usually kind of to say that we needed to feel bad for the bully. Like the bully needs love too, which isn't wrong.
It's not.
It's not necessarily wrong. Yes. Sometimes the bully does need to get love. Sometimes the bully is having a situation, is actually only mirroring some of the same behaviors that they are suffering at home. Right?
Right.
Unfortunately, when we do the trope that way, it doesn't do enough to actually protect the victim. It does actually very little to protect the victim. So it's a trope where the bully gets to bully and the victim gets to be victimized. And then at the end of the story, they're all best friends. As if that happens ever.
And sometimes the victim has to help them through their trauma.
Exactly. Now they have to be the bigger person.
Yes.
A good, relatively recent, actually, yes, this one is within the last 5 years. The Acadia Troll Hunters, it's on Netflix. There's a trilogy kind of show where there are two characters where in the beginning of the Troll Hunters theme, this one kid is a jerk and a bullying the stereotypical nerd with the glasses. And by the end of this, because it's 3 separate shows that they overlap, right? And so by the end of all 3 shows, these 2 kids are basically like good friends, and they're understanding of each other, but he's still a jerk. So it's like it bothers me because we're not doing anything to properly protect the people who are bullied. One to that particular trope, I think there's something to be said about resilience and actually developing healthy coping mechanisms, or encouraging healthy coping mechanisms that don't involve requiring your victim to empathize and cater to you.
Yeah.
Just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean that everybody else gets to suffer too. Or because you're having a bad life doesn't mean that everybody else gets to suffer too, which also kind of goes into, the why do I do that kind of theme. It's these defense mechanisms that people come up with when it comes to when it's like bullying, because sometimes the bully isn't somebody at school. Sometimes it is a parent. Sometimes it is a close family member. Sometimes the bully's the actual teacher, you know? And
oh, yeah.
and it's like, how do you cope with that? Well, now you're going to grow up with difficulty dealing with authority figures, if in the case of where the bully is the teacher, maybe, or when it's your parents, you don't necessarily get to develop very good a good sense of self-reliance, because when your parents are bullying or overbearing, it's really hard to get that kind of trust in self, because you get to what you get to do when you're raised in that kind of an environment is constantly questioning whether you're doing the right thing, because most of the time when your parent is the bully, they're constantly telling you what you're doing wrong. There's so many different levels of those dynamics that aren't being properly taken care of in those tropes, that could definitely be doing better.
Absolutely. I was definitely games that I played that required me to try to forgive the other character because of their trauma. I always say no. The one game that it was very hard, where I don't know if you've played The Last of Us Part 2. I don't know if you're a gamer.
I dibble and dabble. Yeah, I haven't played that one. I've watched someone else play it though.
Well, it's one of the most incredible games that has ever been made. Character driven story. It's phenomenal, and they put you in a situation where something happens so devastating at the beginning of this game. You are immediately locked in. You're like, game time. Let's go. Time for revenge. I don't give a damn. I don't care what the other person's situation. Like when it happens, it's written so well and done so well in the game. When it happens, all I thought of was, I'm about to kill your ass. As soon as the sticks get back in my hand, it's done. Whatever I got to do to get to you, it's done. And they let you play, and it's like a manhunt pretty much. You're trying to track this person down that has done you wrong in a very brutal and very terrible way. And you have hurt a lot of people on your path, and because you are put in the shoes of this person and visually you've experienced what they've experienced, you don't care what you have to do to get to this person. No matter how messed up it is or how low you have to go, the goal is to get to this person. And you start talking to yourself. Well, at least I do, because I get into this stuff. And you start saying, like, well, if you just give me what I want, I don't have to hurt you. Just tell me what the person is and you don't get hurt. And I move on. Oh, you're not going to tell me? All right. Now it's time to go to work. Then they put you
in start with your pinky toes.
Right.
Work our way up.
But then then halfway into the game, they switched the roles. No one knew this was going to happen. No one knew all this was going to happen. They put you in that character's shoes. The character who did this unjustly god awful thing to you, you are now playing as that character. When that happened, I turned the dang game off. I turned it off. I didn't come back. I didn't come back for a couple days. And when I picked up the remote and I started playing again, I was like, I don't care what happened to this girl. I don't care about her trauma. You ain't gonna make me like her. You ain't gonna make me understand. I'm not doing nothing. And as I'm playing the game, I am slowly falling into it with her. I am understanding her side. I am seeing it, and it just made me just like think like everybody has trauma. Everybody goes through something, and everybody is the hero in their narrative or whatnot. And you get to work from both ends. You get to work through both of their traumatic experiences. I mean, it's just well done. It's just a well done game, and it made I've never played a game that made me question what I had to do at the end of it. I've always I've always been with the hero, and they were right. But this game made me question my moves up until the very end.
I think that's a really good point. And I have to correct you on one specific point.
Yeah.
And typically it's not a correction. It's really just it's a thought adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is actually a trope even in mental health care that I go against fairly frequently and have argued on a couple different levels. Everybody is not the hero of their story. Everybody is not the hero of their story. There are several people out there. As a matter of fact, I have two friends who they consider themselves the villain, and they're okay with that, and love them to death. If y'all are watching, I love you. But no, on a mental health level, you might be the star of your story, but you are not. Not everybody is the hero of their story. Not everybody actually sees themselves as the one who's supposed to win. And that is so important to understand when it comes to mental health, because when we're talking about folks who function on the fear of failure or fear of success model, that's what that can be about. That's, I'm not deserving of success. I'm the villain here. I can't get the girl, or I can't get the guy, or I don't get to wear the shiny cape. You know,
right.
There are those who are not the hero of their story, and it's really important to recognize that, because when we come from the idea that everybody thinks that what they're doing is right, we miss out on, we can miss a lot, especially as clinicians. That what I would call fatalistic optimism can be really detrimental to a client's everything if we make the wrong assumption. So not everybody is the hero to their own story. And to that point, when you're getting to see the world from, to a certain extent, those two different angles, at least in my experience, in my personal life, in my friendships, in my relationships, in my situationships, whatever you want to call it, recognizing the dichotomy of, on the one hand, yes, some everybody thinks, right, that they've done no wrong, maybe, or everybody thinks that everybody else is crazy, or everybody thinks that nobody else understands them, right? There are these so-called everybody thinks these things, when in fact it's actually, yes, everybody thinks these things, but it's actually everybody thinking all of these things at the same time or at different stages in life. So on one day, you might be that bad guy, and you might wear that the bad guy cape or the bad guy hat and be all right with it, and just be like, I'm an asshole today. And that's just what it is, right?
Right.
You put your jerk cape on, and it's just like, this is who I am. Deal with it, right? And then on another day, you are the I try to get my version of street sometimes, Captain Save-A-Ho, where you're out there and you are caping for everybody who looks your way. And so you have to be able to recognize that we all get to play whatever character we need to at any given time, and that's what the way the world is requires of us. But we have to give ourselves permission to actually recognize that and admit that. And that's where a lot of the breakdowns happen. It's like, today I was a jerk and I'm supposed to be the hero. No. If you had to be the jerk today, then so be it. Be the jerk and own that. And hopefully tomorrow when you wake up, you can just not be the jerk, not wake up. Maybe today you get to be a couch burrito and not interact with the rest of the world because you've dealt with too much human stuff, because humaning is hard. Okay. Humaning is difficult. Humaning takes a lot of work. And then tomorrow you get to go out there and be productive. And like I said, be homie with a cape. Here he comes to save the day. So it's okay to wear these different roles, to use your coping mechanisms healthily, healthily, and within a healthy scope where you get to be your most authentic self, even if your most authentic self isn't the self that other people require you to be.
Understood.
Don't have to be the hero.
Huh?
Said don't have to be the hero.
Right, absolutely. Be what you're comfortable with. I know I've definitely played the asshole card. I have definitely played that. So we're talking about mental health, trauma, and things that we are doing, and why do we do this? I want to put myself on the table for a second here and get your opinion on something. So in high school, I think in high school I really, like when I got to ninth grade, I went to the Cleveland School of Arts. I think that's when I really learned and understood what friends are, and that's where I really started to develop my real core friendships with people that I am, that I consider family now. That we can go for months without talking, and then when we talk, we pick right back where we left off at, and things like that. But my sophomore year, I was a problem. I was volatile. I was, every chance I got into a fight. And I was I felt like I needed to be very protective of my friends, because they were my friends, and I never had friends like this before. And my friend was getting jumped, and I ran in. I did not have any control. I just, no hesitation, ran in, started fighting and helping him out. And the day after, we were back in school for it, and my friends were like, "Oh shoot, Mike, you actually got hands. You can fight." Because I was the smallest dude in the crew, and they were like, "You actually can fight. That's what's up." And I think I took that and I ran with it. I would find any and every excuse to get into a fight with somebody. Like my dude said, like, what I wanted you to fight, Mike, if I were to go, I wanted you to fight Jason, because he was talking all this trash, and y'all the same size, so that probably would be a good fight. I was like, you want me to fight Jason? I made up a reason to go fight. I went and fought him. Just made up a whole reason just to go do it. And I really have no idea. Like I think I wanted to impress my friends, but I think for the fact that somebody acknowledged that people that, like my peers or whatever, like said that I could fight, it made me want to fight more. Like it was some kind of thing of approval or whatnot. But I don't really know like what like brought that on. But I got in like 10 fights that school year, like just looking for trouble. I was a maniac.
You ever watch like a nature flick, like animals and stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You ever see like where the lions or freaking deer, right? where they're in between, they're in that in between cub and adult age.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do?
They're always wrestling and
they're always wrestling. They're fighting. They're tumbling. It's like, what is wrong with you? Like, you are out here in the wild. You are about to have to hunt for a living, but here you go, tackling your cousin or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That so adolescence across the board, pretty much, that's what that's about.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about establishing your pecking order, recognizing where it is that you fall in it, and then either claiming more and more dominance in that, or going for the acceptance of your peers to make sure that you get to keep that role. Because at that age of development, during that age of development, that's when your peers, your friendships are that much more important to you. So, earlier on in life, you're establishing kind of your identity as the person in your home, within your home tribe. But once you get to adolescence, that's where you start, as my mother used to say, that's where you start smelling yourself. And so you start, wanting to expand out there into the world and start actually establishing yourself as an individual outside of your home tribe. And that requires sometimes the fighting, sometimes the rebelling against the home life, sometimes, like, it just depends kind of what's happening in your world. But for you, like you said, this is your first group of friends who were like that. And if you want, we can dive a little bit deeper into that. But having a protective nature, there's a lot of things that go into being a protector. And I'm not gonna go too far into that, but there's a lot of things that, if there's a part of your mind that's thinking that you need to be the one who's protecting your friends, there's a part of your mind who is going to see yourself full circle moment as Captain Save-A-Ho at some point in time in life. So you're going to be out there with your caping, being the hero. As you said earlier, when you're playing your video games, you always go for being the good guy, being the hero of the story. That's evident in, I guess, for you ever since. Forever. Like, that's who you are. You're the guy who wants to protect everybody, and that's okay. That's how you established your identity when you were establishing your identity. You're muted.
All right, out here dropping these tidbits. All right, you out here doing your thing, fully licensed and stuff. Okay. This is cool. Another reason why I really do enjoy what Moana and Dana do with the show every single week or whatnot. But so you said also you were here to answer questions that you've been asked before. So it seems like you have a couple of questions that you get all the time that you may want to introduce to our audience.
Well, so for the most part, except for when Moana or Dana have a question that they want me to address, a lot of my questions are literally coming from my clients. And so to a certain extent, I can't literally ask the questions that they ask. Okay. So I got to put it in broad terms sometimes. Because I kind of, now granted, even though I never say like a client's name or whatever, it's also very important to me professionally that any question I pose or any topic I pose on the show is never particularly identifiable by any one specific client, so that it can't be said that I betrayed their trust, because I would never. And so it's just so important to address these things, because when you get questions from adults or from kids, because I work with both. Well, let me be specific. Kids over the age of 11. So that's basically my age range. when you work with them and you get some of the same kinds of questions, or you get some of the same kind of inquiries, where parents are trying to figure out, why are they doing this? I wasn't like this as a kid. Well, sir, well, ma'am, this is a whole different human being here. So
I've definitely said that before myself.
right. And so it's so important to be able to, at least from my perspective, get the, even if it's in a roundabout way of why human beings human the way we human. And so it's a human thing that our experiences shape how we view the world and how we react to what we see, whether it's a literal see or figurative see. So if you are seeing, going back to like trauma, if you are seeing traumatic things, even if it's not traumatic things happening to you, so that's like, consider the vicarious trauma that brown people and people of color and, you know, the BIPOC community are going through with the constant releasing of these videos of police brutality, or brown people getting shot in the street, or whatever the case may be. You know, the vicarious trauma, it's going to cause some trauma responses. You know, you where, you know, I've heard the story of you or actually I've personally experienced the story of getting stopped by the police and crying just because you're deathly afraid of this being the day that you're going to die, because you've seen that happen. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. It could just be that they were just, you know, checking because they thought you were driving a little bit slow and maybe you were lost, and hey, can I help you? Where you thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to die today. So, you know, it could be, you know, something quote unquote innocent. But when you are dealing with trauma, especially generational trauma or vicarious trauma, or, you know, trauma period, PTSD, whatever, your responses and how you deal with that is going to be based on the other collection of your personal experiences or the experiences of others. It's just an important thing to be able to answer some of these questions, especially in this day and age, for all the people, because it's all very common. So I wanted to address these questions. The why do I do that? Or why is my kid behaving this way? Or how did I end up this way? Why can't we have nice things? Like these kinds of questions happen a lot in session. A lot of people don't know why they think their thoughts the way they do. And so
that is that particular thing when you're inside your own head and doing things and you don't even know why you are doing said thing, but you are drawn to it and continue to do it, regardless of knowing the answer or whatnot. What do you recommend for someone that's doing that or experiencing that, especially if they understand the thing may not necessarily be good for them?
It's going to depend on the thing. If you are, for example, compelled to an addictive substance or behavior, so gambling, spending, smoking, drinking, snorting, injecting, whatever your addictive substance or behavior may be, 9.5 times out of 10, it's going to be really difficult for you to manage that on your own. So sitting around in your own head trying to figure out why you're doing this is probably just going to drive you to do this more. Or your inner voices, inner terrorists, your conscious, whatever it is, your subconscious is going to tell you or rationalize why it's okay for you to do this.
Oh.
I had a rough day today, so I can have this extra drink. Or I'm celebrating, so let me go do this line of Coke. That's you're going to rationalize these behaviors, even if it's not good for you. I don't have a problem because I know such and such who does this so much more than I do. Meanwhile, you're orange because your liver is giving up on you. So it's, yeah. So it just depends on what the thing is that you're doing that isn't healthy. On the other hand, let's say, for example, if what we're talking about is a behavior that usually stems from childhood experiences, and it's like a communication error where, let's say, for example, when your boss asks you to do something, you automatically agree to do it, even if it's not something that you can actually do. And find yourself getting yourself in trouble over and over again at work because you keep on signing up or agreeing to do things that are more than you can do. These are trauma responses. Even if it's low-grade trauma, the inability to say no in a self-protective way, no, that's I'm dealing with, I have too much, this is a lot, whatever the case is, or that's just not something I know how to do. I would have to go and get a whole new degree to figure out how to do that. Whatever the case is, being able to actually say no to a boss, that's a thing that is not necessarily good for you if you can't, and you don't necessarily need therapy for that. Although, if you woke up today, it's a good day for therapy. But sometimes just unpacking, as they call it, unpacking the situation, unpacking where that may come from, recognizing, okay, this is something that happens over and over again. It's something that is limiting my ability to function well or to succeed or whatever the case is, and unpacking, even if you don't get all the way to the root of that time where, you saw your mom cry because someone said no. And so you internalize that you can never say no because it'll make somebody cry. Like, even if you don't get all the way down to the root of what sent you the message that you can't say no, at the very least, if you can get to the part of, I recognize that this is a problem, and so now I'm going to make my best effort to see when I'm doing it and reel myself in. So yes, that might still say that when my boss first asks me to do something, even if that first time I'm like, yes, and then 5-10 minutes later, you remember, oh crap, I just said yes to something. Giving yourself permission to then be like, hey boss, I know we just spoke 10 minutes ago. I just wanted to let you know that I realized I checked myself. I can't do this. This is not something that's going to work for me. Giving yourself permission still to actually protect yourself. So it's really just going to depend on what the thing is that you do that's not healthy for you, and either getting help because it's a thing that requires support, unpacking whatever the situation is so you can get as close to your own personal workable solution, or just as simply being able to recognize that you have the problem so that you can then take steps to stop. So that last part can be time management situations where you are always late. This is a problem. So now I'm going to do what I have to do to not be late anymore. I'm going to put stuff in my calendar. I'm going to set alarms, whatever that is, so that you can actually be on time. Doesn't always require unpacking just to figure out why it is that you're showing up late to things. Sometimes it just requires a behavioral adjustment in terms of recognizing this is a problem and I need to solve it.
Absolutely. I hope those of you in the chat, those of you watching that, I hope you're taking notes. You're getting a free session, completely free. Woman's giving up her time and her knowledge, and she's not asking to be paid. And she is dropping bars. She is dropping bars on the table for you all. um, we got about 12 minutes left. I want to, I guess, see, I'm on here. I'm gonna talk to you about a situation, but also want to kind of self promote at the same time.
Okay.
So
Waiting for
in
the
my
plug.
in my newest issue of Hotshot, Hotshot is a superhero that I made up. And it's based off of me and my time in college or whatnot, and where we're at in issue 12 right now. He is he has just failed to save some people, so he is feeling a ton of grief and responsibility for that. It's really shaking him to his core because he believes he failed those people because he has not mastered his powers, and he feels like he should be in control of his powers and he can't control them in the way that he needs to. With that on top of it, he also happened to get a phone call that from his sister that his abusive stepmother has went back to their lives, and he is hurting their mother again. So he immediately takes off. Uh, he immediately takes off and flies home in costume and lands in front of the house or whatnot, and begins and sees this person hurting his mom, and now as a superhero, he has power. It's obviously something that has gone on before in his childhood when he did not have the power to do anything about it, and now he has power. And the violence level gets pretty excessive in this issue. Me as a writer wanting to question um, how far do you go when you can stop something, and it happens to be something that been able to stop before, and now you have the power to do it. Are you in control enough uh, to just stop it enough to where it's done? You separated the parties, or is there payback in that? Is there retribution that you're trying to get out of it, where you go overboard? And our character does go overboard in this story, and it feels like it's very like there's more to it or whatnot. You you being hearing that story or whatnot, what are your thoughts on that mental health wise?
I have several thoughts.
Let's
Give
go.
me a
Let's
specific
go.
question.
Let's,
We only have but like 10 minutes right now, so
let's close it out strong.
10 minutes. Like this is one of the things that is great about superheroes. I'm a big fan of superheroes. All the
Okay.
superheroes, superhero tropes. I love it all. I love the superheroes that aren't Earthians, who come here from elsewhere and decide to defend the planet because they recognize that human lives have value, which can be debatable. Right? I love the ones who are Earthians because the heroes who are Earthians usually have like the absolute worst origin stories and somehow still manage to come out and not be complete assholes. I love the superhero story, but one of the biggest things about the superhero story is that to a certain extent, whether they're Earthians or not, they are all based on the fact that we all have an origin, and the origin is how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about a superhero who just quote unquote failed the people who he was supposed to be saving, and then is immediately confronted by his own past and what, therapeutically speaking, he probably perceives to be his first failure.
Okay.
It's an opportunity to say, I don't have to get this wrong this time. This time I can get it right. But then, as the audience, we get to question, what exactly are we going to call right now? Because there's a couple of rules of what heroes are allowed to do. And premeditated murder is kind of not on that list. You know?
Absolutely.
So how right are we really about to be like, okay, right? Do we bring the guy to justice? Because, you know, you can fly in and literally pick him up out the house through the roof and then drop him somewhat gently into a jail cell, right?
Right.
Do we use our super strength to eye for an eye him into eyelessness? Okay. You know, do we stop him from doing what it is that we can, or whatever it is that he's doing, and then give the onus of the punishment to the victim?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's several different venues, several different paths that the hero trope can go, and it's assumed that this is a part of the dialogue of pretty much every single one of those stories, because in the hero trope, there's always that confrontation with the first failure.
Right.
Always. And how it is that the hero deals with that. In a lot of them, it's, you know, you start out and he or she is just about to put that last punch that goes through the face, and they stop themselves miraculously, and it's just like, no. And then you're not worth it, and they drop them off the building or something, and then they catch them or something, you know, something like that, where it's just like, understand that your life is only still here because I allow it to be, you know, that kind of a dialogue. Again,
Ooh.
I love the superhero story because it's just so multifaceted. So how far do you go? Well, is your character a hero or an anti-hero?
Hey, I like you. Hey, you broke that all the way down. You definitely and not to say that I doubt you. Let me get that out the way. I just love watching that process of you going through it, dropping those notes and picking it apart and putting it back together. Obviously very well versed in the tropes and how that breaks down. That was a solid piece of work. I put a pin in it. I definitely got a book that I definitely have a book that I know you will like. And when we get finished with the text on this newish hot shot, I'm definitely going to send it to you because I want to know your thoughts.
Okay. I look forward to enjoying it.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Well, we're coming up to that wrap out time or whatnot. Can you please let everybody know where they can find you at, where they can reach out to you or whatnot, if that's something that you want to make available for everyone?
Absolutely. You can find me at Reign O Change on all of the outlets. And I laugh because, yes, you can find me at Reign O Change on all of the outlets. But when it comes to social media, I'm not good at actually using them. So most of the time I have to go and actually, like, you know, old school, phone a friend. How do I do this? I'm totally that person who's just like, there's a red dot on my thing and I don't know how to get to the red dot. Show me how can I get to the red dot? Okay. That's me. I'm that chick. So yeah. Drop me a message. If it takes me a while, just understand it's because there was no one there to show me how to get to it. Unless you message me on Facebook, and then it pops up literally, boom, there's a bubble, and I just have to click on the bubble and I can do that. But with the rest of the apps, it's a red dot next to the app, and I'm just like, how do I do this? And then I click on the thing, the red dot does not disappear, and it doesn't show me where it is that I'm supposed to be looking. So it's just all kinds of confusion. Just a note to all of the social media app developers, you failed miserably. For those of us who can react to a red dot and not figure out how to get it done. But yes, at Reign O Change on all of the platforms. If you are looking for mental health or clinical mental health input, assessment, whatever. You can also find me on Facebook at my name, Shae Reigns, LMSW. You can drop me a message there. And otherwise, as one of my favorite cousins, the elevated one, says, don't be an asshole your whole life. You can be an asshole sometimes, just not your whole life.
Okay.
And if you woke up this morning, it's a good day for therapy. So please, even if you're not necessarily looking for me to be your therapist, if you just want some help figuring out how to get to one, feel free to drop a message or watch the episode from a couple of months ago that we did that's actually titled How to Shop for Your Therapist. So go for it. And thanks for having me. And
Oh my goodness. No, thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure sitting here chatting with you and pick your brain and see how you handle these dialogues and things like that. Very much so enjoyed it. I am Mike Watson, aka Most Epic Art, publisher of Freestyle Comics. You can catch me on all social media as Most Epic Art. You can hit up our comics at fsknow.com. We're fully stocked. Oh wait, no, we're sold out of Hot Shot number. Another plug. But go check it out. We got plenty of books on that website for you to check out, and be sure to check out the Moana Nui Podcast on the Ages of Wisdom. We have we have a panel coming on at 8:30, and they're going to be discussing Shazam: Fury of the Gods at 8:30. So yes, take a bathroom break, get some popcorn, eat your din, and come back because I'm still taking over the show tonight. I want to thank Shae for coming out here and hanging out with us tonight and blessing us with her knowledge and having this great conversation and chat. Thank you for hanging out as well. And those of you that may be new and just tuned in and got stuck in the conversation and you like it, subscribe. Hit that little like button, smash the subscribe button, and then hit that into a share button, your network, and let everybody know that the Ages of Geekdom Network just have all these shows that are popping right now. And you should check it out. We got something for everybody. And we are going to be going for a half an hour break, and we'll be back here at 8:30. Check you later.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand,
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No regard for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if you put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course. Cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. Network out for all the locals, school will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf, if we won't tell it we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf, if we won't tell it we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf, if we won't tell it we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf, if we won't tell it we will. We will.
Hello?